All right, here's a little video on replacing the internal battery on the FX9. It's not fun, but totally doable. So I do have a naked FX9. There's no media in the slot, no lens adapter. The lens cap can stay on for this whole process. Allen wrench set, small Phillips head, medium Phillips head, pair of needle nose just for grabbing tiny things, something to pry out the internal battery when it comes time. The replacement internal battery right here, which there's a link on the Facebook group. And then to make things a lot easier, some sort of organizational tray for your screws so you know where everything goes. You will also need to be able to check the viewfinder and power it up once you get the battery replaced just to make sure everything's working. So I'm gonna go nice and slow because I don't wanna ruin my camera. You start on the face of the camera. There are 4 screws right here, down here, here, and here. That is all you need to do to release the faceplate. I'm gonna do so now. Magnetized screwdrivers really helped this whole process too. Okay, so that's the 4 screws on the faceplate. Now it is ready to come off. It's really on there tight, so what I did is actually tilted it. She gave it a little shake. That separated the bottom. And now I can kind of go up and over. I have to get over these 2 handles on the lens lock. I'm actually going to use my little pry guy. Okay, so it kind of slides over and off, and then you get just this cover. And that's all you have to do on the front, nothing naked there, nice and easy. Next, I'm gonna move to the bottom. I don't know if this has to come off, but it's in the manual to come off, so I'll keep taking it off. So that's 8 Allen keys. In addition, these 3 are gonna come out, and that's gonna reveal some more screw points. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. There's a little snap when you're undoing these. You can probably hear that. That's just a little bit of Loctite breaking. The tray just lets you put the screws in the box for each step. So when it comes time to put this back together, step by step, you just grab the screws out of the last box you used and keep moving forward until you have hopefully no more screws left at the end. Okay, so now that piece right here is loose. Just turn it over, falls out. I'm gonna take these pieces off next. Okay. So now that shoulder pad is off, and you'll see that there's now screws that we can access. We've got screws 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips heads, small. And once those come off, this bottom plate comes off. And the fact that I'm doing this without my reading glasses is mind-boggling. Ah, my goodness. Okay. That actually is loose, so the side pieces don't need to come off. Here's your bottom plate. It just comes right off. Here's the guts on the inside of your camera. Not a lot to mess with there. You'll see this big ribbon cable coming out here. It's this guy and this guy. They attach in this mess right here, which if you can see is all just wires, raw wires. So I did not want to mess with that. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the top section. The top section is larger screws. We've got 6, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 larger screws. We also have 2 smaller screws there. In addition, on the side, there is 1 screw here. It is a smaller screw, and I gotta be honest, it was hard finding a screwdriver that fit it and was tiny enough to go into the hole. So I will go ahead and remove all of these now. And we have the one on the side that I also need to get. So that should release our top plate, which just comes off. No electronics, just a metal piece. Now you can start seeing some guts on the inside of your camera. So the next step is going to be getting the actual side plate off that we need to get to the battery. However, if you'll notice here, we have 2 ribbons or 2 cables to disconnect. We have one right here, which is just a pole connector. If you get your fingernails on either side, that just pops out. And then we have one here, and it's got a little flip up thing that you just flip up and the cable pulls out. And when you want to get it back together, you just slide it in and push the tab back down. Not complicated, a little scary. Do the same thing with this, just 2 fingernails, popped out. There we go. So it's those 2 ribbon cables. All right, so now we've got some more screws to do. We've got 1, 2 small on top. We've got 1 small there on the bottom. We have 1 small that's holding the headphone jack cover. And then inside of the media holder, you'll see 2 more screws right here and right over here. And those all come out. Now, it still has some pull tabs that'll keep you from removing the plate, and we want to be very careful when we do that because we still have ribbons connected on the bottom and inside. So we're not doing a full dismantle, we're just sneaking in there to get to the battery. Okay, and on the top we have these two that are in our metal clips. Another one there. Okay, so now the plate, the operator side plate or cover is actually loose now. But we have to work it to get it off. So you can feel it, it's gonna wiggle. But we have pop tabs here, 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 and also down here and here. These are cheap, crappy plastic. If you bend them too far, they're gonna break. It's not gonna keep the camera from going back together, but I'm trying to do this without ruining anything. So just be very careful. You're gonna pry those up ever so slightly. You're gonna start on the bottom side. I'm gonna use the tiny little pliers and think on this, and I'm just gonna pry up enough that it gets loose. And I'm gonna do the same thing here, pry up enough that it gets loose, and I can push it. Then I'm gonna move to the front one, which is just pry up and push it a little bit so it comes off. So now each time it's getting a little looser and a little looser. By the time I get to these top tabs, it's gonna fall when I get them off. So I'm gonna hold on to it because again, we have some ribbons that we're not disconnecting, so we can just kind of cheat this. She's not budging, don't force it. Okay, so it's just the tabs and getting them off. So now it's loose, okay? And it can kind of come off and it can even kind of fold to the side. It's not gonna lay completely flat, but we don't need it to. Right here is your battery. It's a little circular button battery, the same as you purchased. This is probably the sketchiest part of the whole process, is getting underneath the button battery to pop it out. You really can't get good leverage from this side, and you can try. But what I've found is best is to come from underneath, come from the bottom side, and just get it under and pop it out. It's gonna shoot out of there if it works. There she goes. Okay. And you want to make sure you put it in the right direction. The flat side is up, the bubbled side faces down, and it just snaps right in. Ooh, gotta be careful. Snaps right into that. Make sure it's in there good. Okay. Now you're gonna put it back together. So just kind of line it up so it's nice and make sure your ribbon cables are exposed for you. The first thing that'll happen is your pop tabs will pop back into place. Just double check all those, make sure they locked in, which they have. So we're already on the pop tabs. Next thing I like to do is reconnect my cables. This is delicate work, you don't want to break these. Kind of trying to handle the plastic of the connector and not the cable itself. Okay, that one was good. We're gonna go ahead and do the ribbon now. Really want to make sure that's seated nice and good before I push that bar down to lock it into place. Okay, at this point, I like to power up the camera to make sure that it is actually working still. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my power supply, which is a battery. And I'm going to plug in my viewfinder so I can see what's going on. Now, the first time you fire it back up, it is gonna ask for time and date again because it still hasn't been set. But I'm literally just looking to see if it turns back on and operates like a camera. So I'm not gonna set the time and date right now, but the camera turns on and it's looking for time and date like we are all so used to. And we're good to go. So now it's a reassembly, okay? We're just gonna go in the exact same order that we took it apart. Not complicated. We're gonna start with all the screws for our operator side plate. And if you did what I did, they're all in order. So I just go in and grab all my screws with my magnetic screwdriver, and I'm gonna start with my headphone connector cover screw. You don't have to listen to me and watch me repair my camera, but you're more than welcome to. Also, I'm not looking for subscribes or likes or follows. I really don't care. I'm probably not gonna ever make another video again. But if you ever know of anybody that's coming to Las Vegas and needs help with production, please feel free to give them my name. We do good stuff for 45 years in Las Vegas. Mr. Camera. One screw on the bottom, don't forget. There's an open slot that looks like it needs a screw, but that gets covered with the bottom plate. Okay, so that is the operator side panel is back on. I'm gonna move on to the top panel. It's important to remember that if you have this AC power adapter cover, the plastic piece, it goes on before this lid goes on. But once that's on there, go ahead and put your lid back on, grab all your screwies, and get to screwing. It's always a good idea to start all your screws first before wrenching them down. Because this is so precise, if you wrench something down and it's slightly off, it won't work for the rest of the screws. So just like a tire changing a wheel on a vehicle, it's always good to start all your lug nuts, start all your screws, get them in a place, and then tighten everything down nice and tight. Oh, that's not the screw hole. There's matching holes over here. It's the outer holes for the screws on the top plate. Also, I didn't go over it, but if you don't use if you don't use this slot on your camera, you'll have to take that cover off to get to these last two screws. Mine lives off of my camera, so previously done for me. Okay. Spot. I do have the one side screw left to put in, but I'm going to go ahead and start wrenching these down on top. You don't want to strip these. You want them to be tight, but there's no reason to try to strip these. Okay, and last but not least, our little side screw. Right by the viewfinder port. I can't express enough how much the magnetic screwdrivers make this a better situation. Okay, so the top is back together. Now we're going to move on to the bottom. Not much to do here. It slides in from the back end of the camera first, the opposite the lens end, and then it just drops into place. If anybody doesn't feel comfortable repairing their camera after watching this video, I'm happy to do it for you, and I will not charge you an arm and a leg. As long as you cover shipping both ways, send it with a battery or two, I will charge you as long as it takes, which is about 1 hour. And my going rate for me is $100 an hour, so I think that sounds pretty fair. All right, that is our bottom plate cover. Now we're gonna put in our 1/4 20 3/8 adapter. I am going in no specific order with this. I'm just putting them in. This one lined up very nice every time I've done it. You do want to make sure that the 1/4 20 port is towards the lens of the camera, not the 3/8/16. So the 1/4 20 side goes to the front of the camera. Okay, and now we're gonna put our shoulder pad. This was a slightly tricky piece just because you have these two sliding screws that go back and forth and you have to line them up. So I line those up first, then I just try to line up my last one and then get them in. You don't have to worry about its placement 100%, just get the screws started and then you can slide it where you want to afterwards. Those are all started. I slide it all the way up to the front, but I use a Seiko universal shoulder pad for mine, so this thing's kind of just a waste. I probably should leave it off because it's just extra weight. But I always like to try to keep my cameras as close to factory as possible for the day, for when the day comes that they must go bye-bye. I would like them to be basically like they were new. Hence the battery repair job and other small fixes as they break. Keep them looking good. They do good for you, you do good for them. All right, that is that. So last up on our list is to do our front plate. And again, this one's probably the easiest part of all. Kind of go over the top and to the side and then get it into place and it's just ready to go for screws. Okay, that is that, ladies and gentlemen. This camera will need to have its date and time set the next time I turn it on, but after that, it should be smooth sailing. I have seen some people online saying that they tried this and it did not solve the issue. I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these FX9s in the last 3 weeks, and every single one of them was a success. So I have good feeling that you guys will be successful too. I wish you luck. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.